Over 140 miles per gallon is what this car's recorded since it's been taking data on the efficiency that I've got with this car over the last 12 days. I've not just driven it for an afternoon, I've been putting it to good work. That's why it's filthy dirty. And I rather like it. Yes, I'm all for electric cars. Yes, I want people to go electric where they can, but there are some cases where it doesn't suit. And maybe a plug-in hybrid with petrol engine is a reasonable compromise. And it is, after all, how I got into electric cars in the first place, and maybe it'd be the same for others. This surprised me. Laser headlights, massage seats, heated cup holders, head-up display. It's got some really good features, this car. Brilliant ride as well. Anyway, I'm going to tell you all about this car, what I really like about it. Is it got its place in the market? I think it does. And just how much I do like this BMW X5 45e plug-in hybrid. Is a hybrid actually a good step towards going fully electric? Well, I'm Richard Simons. I'm all about electric cars. That's why it says RS EV up in the sign behind me. But this BMW X5 really is rather good. Let me tell you about it. Now, this car's rather dirty because I've been putting it to good work over the last 12 days. Family use, business use, even towing a heavy trailer. So not just a day of kind of quick review and drive, but really what's it like with family use, business use, and all that kind of stuff. How is it really? But firstly, what is the BMW X5 45e? It's a plug-in electric hybrid car, so you can plug it in from chargers like we charge all our electric cars here, and it's got a meaningful 24 kilowatt-hour battery. That's what interests me about this car. It's got a much bigger hybrid battery than most do. Most plug-in hybrids have got like 12, 13 kilowatt hours, give you, I don't know, 15, 20 miles of real-world range, not that much, but actually I've heard good things about that. So I'm going to tell you what I get for real-world electric range in a bit. But it also has then a 3-litre straight-six twin-turbo petrol engine. It's got plenty of power behind it. So the idea really is that you can do all your commuting, your local driving, going to the shops, doing the school run, coming to work on electric. The engine never comes on. It runs pure and electric. And we've got solar panels up here, can charge off that, drive home, cost pittance to run. But when you need the extra range and you don't want to do charging of electric cars, or if you need to tow heavy loads which impact the range of electric cars, then maybe this is a car for you. Maybe it's a good first step into going all electric potentially. That's what I found. I found initially with my first plug-in electric hybrid, which was a Vauxhall Ampera, same as a Chevy Volt, that actually I got frustrated. I want to go further on electric only. But this is rather good. It's got loads of power, it's got a great spec to it. So let's get stuck into some of the details and show you around it. So as with most cars, specifications will vary based on exact examples you're looking at. This exact one here that I've been using is a really nice high spec. So it does have the comfort pack, the technology pack, the ultimate pack, and quite a lot of bits. I'll show you maybe optional extras. So you've just got to check if you're looking at one of these exactly what it has. They always come with a pretty good spec, but this one here, lovely big 21-inch wheels. Yes. Huge brake discs and calipers. Yes, really good. And at the front here as well, BMW laser headlights, the best I think I've ever used. They're dynamic, they're corner, they're matrix, and they've got laser beams, so they're brilliantly, brilliantly good. Really like those, fantastic. Soft closed doors. Yep, and at the back. Yep. Power tailgate, of course. But we've got a little split power tailgate. What's the point of that? Well, this is quite handy. I found out when I had a baby a few years ago now, you can have a boot full of stuff, and when you need to change your baby's nappy, you put the baby there and you can change it. That was one of the best reasons. But you can also sit on it and change your wellies and stuff like that when you're out in the countryside, like I obviously do. That's why it's all muddy. The other thing I quite like is actually when you push this, they both close. The other thing this has got is, let's close that bit, and out comes a tow bar. This is a factory fitted electric deployable tow bar. The electrics are neatly tucked away in there. You plug it in and it really is rather good at tow. I made a separate video about towing, so do check that out. When you're done with that, so you don't bang your shins on it and get all greasy and dirty, I've just pushed that button and it should disappear. That was good timing, wasn't it? So if it's a little bit too high to load, you can push a button here and the back of the car lowers its air suspension, and then you can get your heavy load in a little bit easier. I've got little levers here that can fold the seats from here as well, three-way split folded. And they've got little springy bits on, so they go down slowly, not just slam down. Do you want to see the lovely motion of the folding seat? So I'm just at the back here, pull this button. Are you ready for this? Oh, that one fell a bit quicker. That's heavier, that's why. Let me do the other one. Check this out, hang on, go the other side. Ready? Better than just slamming down, isn't it? And then it's pretty big, but it's not quite flat, is a little bit of an annoyance. And ultimately, for getting very large things in, it's not as big as a Land Rover Discovery, and it doesn't have 7 seats like a Land Rover Discovery. There is a little bit of storage under the here where you can have bits like a spare number plate for when you're towing, when you charge cables and locking wheel nut keys and things like that. Rear window blinds as well as tinted windows, yes. Those are not electric like a Mercedes S-Class. This is where you plug the car in, and it's only a Type 2, it's not CCS, it doesn't do rapid charging. But if you plug this in on my car charger overnight, it charges nicely between the 11:30 and the 5:30 cheap electric time. So 7.5 pence per kilowatt hour means that if you run this car just off of its range on battery only every day, so you could probably do 40 miles a day quite happily, then you could probably do 10,000 miles just on cheap electric, and the efficiency this car gets could probably cost you, in theory, it would be about £300. I don't think that's bad. It does of course have keyless unlocking and lock-in. You can also use your phone to lock and unlock the car, though you have to open like your, in my case, Apple Wallet and kind of show that. You can't just have your phone on you like you can with a Tesla, unfortunately. In here, very well appointed, all feels very luxurious. Even the armrests are heated, I have you know. My cup holders in here are both heated and cooled, depending on my drink. I've got a wireless phone charger there. I've got climate display both sides, and climate in the back both sides as well. I think it's both sides, yeah. In here all feels very nice basically. I've got the sort of premium seats that have the extra adjustments, so I do have the leg adjustment here, I've got lumbar adjustment, obviously height and backrest, but also this piece of the backrest here can fold forward and back separately to support your shoulders nicely, which is good, with quite a nice soft squishy headrest, which I like. And the seats in this car even have massage function, which is rather nice, I imagine, because they don't actually work in this car at the moment. There's a problem with them, but it's going in a couple of weeks to have that looked at. It's a shame I have to wait a couple of weeks, but nonetheless, in theory, massage seats should be very good. I then have this huge panoramic roof in this one, which is called a Sky Lounge, not just a sunroof anymore. It has to be called something different, so it's a Sky Lounge, which is basically a big sunroof. It opens as well. But what is good, at night, the ambient lighting in this car isn't just lighting around the doors and the back of the seats and across the dashboard, but it lights up this sunroof in a really nice dotted display. That's good. I really like it. My daughter's very impressed by that, and it's a nice feature. Although I think it's something like a £2,000 option extra, so I don't know if I'd spend that much on it, but it's nice to have, that's for sure. So in here, Harman Kardon stereo is good. Speakers under the seats as well, good. This has got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto integration, and what is good about this, and I've only ever had this on BMW so far, is when you're on Apple CarPlay and you use, say, Apple Maps, that also does synchronize to the dash and a head-up display for navigation. Normally you have to use the native nav in the car to get that to work on head-up display, but with this car, Apple Maps does also show on head-up display. It knows that. That's great. And I think it's great. So we've got touchscreen here, quite a large touchscreen, which is reasonable to use. It's quite sensible. This is quite good. But what I have enjoyed having on this car actually is, so let me open my phone in CarPlay here. So even on CarPlay, whoops, no, I didn't call my mate there. That's no good. Pocket dial, mate. I'm doing a review of a car and I just hit Apple CarPlay and it dialed you. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm alright, mate. Don't worry. I'll leave you be, yeah? Are you,
Well, you're still recording, you're on camera at the moment, mate, so yeah.
Good job I'm dressed, yeah.
yeah, good job on FaceTime. Yeah, cool. See you Saturday, hopefully, mate.
Yes, speak back, mate.
Take care, bye. Okay, one thing I do like about this car is not just how well Apple CarPlay and Apple Maps integrates with the car, but I can still use the iDrive to control this, and I like that. I've actually found this surprisingly useful. So I've been very used to driving Teslas where everything's done on the screen and you're touching the screen. What I have found useful is just being able to use iDrive for navigating around the screen and not prodding the screen. So you just twiddle the knob down here, push it in, and it does what you want without always having to leave fingerprints all over the screen. There are fingerprints on the screen as well, because I have touched it as well, but actually using iDrive for a lot of the functions has been brilliant. It's been really good. It's almost like if I if I had a Tesla again tomorrow, it'd be quite nice to have like a little controller you can use. That's going to really open up a can of worms for arguments there, isn't it? I quite like having the iDrive controller, not just always having to pod the screen. I mean, I guess partly because when you're driving as well, the screen is just out of my reach. So if you're driving along and you can sort of twiddle this without thinking about it is good. It's also got things like gesture controls. If I do this, the volume goes down. If I do that, the volume goes up. And if I go like that, it stops. Actually worked. So that's good. The display up here on the driver's screen, it looks like there's a lot going on initially, but you get used to it. And actually, it's really good at showing how much power you've got when you're in electric and when it's going to tip into turning the petrol on. It's actually, you get used to this. It's quite a good mixed display there. And then you've got your head-up display, which you can rarely see, and it's impossible to film because you have to be in my face to film it. But there is a head-up display there. You'll have to believe me on that one. Of course, when you change different modes, you do get different versions of all the displays. This now goes red and shows my revs. And even if I'm in electric or hybrid and I go to sport mode on the gearbox, it shows different things. But you get used to that really quickly. Basically, in here, it all feels quite nice and premium. And actually, everything's to the right kind of place. I also have used the lane assist, cruise control, autopilot type thing a fair bit. And I found that to be quite good. So it doesn't just do cruise control and distance keeping, but it does do the lane assist thing. If you get a winding country road, it can get a little bit sloppy there, but for most things, actually, it works quite well, and certainly on motorways and everything like that. Okay, so now let's try this little party trick. I don't know when really it's going to be that useful, but I'm in a sort of parking space at the front of our unit here, and I'm going to push reverse assistant. And what I'm going to do is drive round here, quite so I'm going to make it a little bit difficult and go along by the gates here. And our fence, it's quite a narrow gated entrance here. Through that little gap, I'm going to come along here, and then I'm going to park alongside our warehouse wall there. And there we go. Now, if I go to reverse, the car can just do all that backwards and put me back where I started. So it's just driving itself, although I'm going to just be on the brake just to kind of steady it, slow it down. Is it going to miss that Tesla? Yes, okay. So I'm not quite sure of the real world application of this, except if you want to rewind time and go back to where you were. We're close to that gate. I'm going to just slow it down a little bit. No, it's fine. The car's like, yeah, I'm good to go. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. Good. And end of the route will be reached shortly in... There. We are bang on exactly where we were. So it has this ability to rewind time and put you back where you were in case you didn't want to do that yourself. The only time I can think of is when you leave and you go, did I lock the front door? You know, I did it often leaving here, and I think, yeah, and I'll go back and check. And this next time I can just go, well, I'll let the car go back. So, okay, well, let me know in comments below when that's a useful thing. But it's kind of impressive at the same time, isn't it? Yeah, interesting. How is the self-parking? I never tried it. Let's do park assistant. Where is it? I've never tried it.
Behind my car.
Yeah. Then we can just reverse into your car again.
Yeah, perfect.
Right, we're going to go on the road here, so we've got to put our seat belts on. So if I select parking assist, and I presume now it's just going to scan for gaps and stuff like that. Does it do both sides? Oh, that's a pretty big gap there. Ah, it says there parking. Look.
It's just, there we go.
Yeah, so, okay. Well, let's do that then. Let's park. And it's done the indicator automatically. It's gone reverse automatically. Better mind these 21-inch wheels on this curb edge here. It can back into that Mazda there, that doesn't matter. I'm just going to put the tow bar out first. Holy moly, that actually works quite well.
It was so easy and simple.
Oh, it's still going? Oh, it just wants to go up to the car in front.
Makes sense.
But it was just kind of done. Well, that was right, wasn't it? So the self-parking works quite well. So what's it like to drive? Well, I'll talk to you about the different drive modes first and then about ride and handling. So it would default to electric if it's got charge. As I drive along now, I'm in electric only, and it accelerates quite comfortably, 30, 40, I've not even got my foot down actually. There's 50, there's 55. Like it's got enough power in electric only just to kind of keep up with traffic, do quite nicely. It does all you need for your general driving. You didn't have adaptive where it can kind of predict what to use based on your journey. So you have to have the navigation entry in to say, I'm going from here to London. And what it can do is use a bit of electric now, we're in a New Forest, then it will go to petrol on the motorway and actually recharge the battery a little bit. And then when you come off the motorway in London, it will turn the engine off and leave enough electric to do your final bit on just electric only. So that's lovely, it's good. Hybrid mode is a bit like any hybrid car, uses a bit of both. Foot down, engine's on. Lift off, it's engine off, recuperating and such like. And then you've got sport mode where if I go to sport, it goes red, and typically it would now put the engine on, give me the power from the engine as well as electric as well. I can even change gears manually here. I can go to a sport mode, so sport change, auto or manual gearbox. So there's a few different settings you can play with. Normally you just get in the car and drive it on its electric mode when it can, because you're just wafting around doing your thing. But when I go to sport mode, it really does have a bit of a turn of speed to it. Now typically you won't know if the engine's come on, but you can see there, I can't go too quick along this bit of road, but it can nip up through the gears, nice gearbox, and you've got quite a nice sporty car. But how can an SUV be sporting? Well, I don't know how they do it, to be honest, because it has the most sublime, comfortable ride. So I'm just going to go back to electric now and waft around. It has the most sublime ride, I think. Again, for a large car with big 21-inch wheels, it handles little bumps and ridges well. It wafts along the road really nicely, like a proper luxury car. You know, think BMW 7 Series, Mercedes S-Class, all that kind of stuff. It's good, it's comfortable, it's really refined, it's really quiet. But as I was saying, it also handles well. So BMW X5 has always been a bit like that. It can be a big SUV, but it actually goes around corners really nicely. The steering feels good. It doesn't lean much. It's somehow really good handling for a car that then you're sitting all perched high up as well with a big commanding driving position. I don't really know how they do it. It's very, very good. And I've been really loving the ride comfort and the refinement of this car. You know, if they could make Tesla Model Y get anywhere near the ride comfort of this kind of thing, it would be the perfect thing, you know, it'd be great. But this is just lovely, it does everything, and even when it's loaded with passengers, even when you've got a heavy trailer on the back, it's really composed, it's refined, it's comfortable, and all that kind of stuff. Now you can get that in a car. Why drive around an SUV? Well, for me, there's a couple of reasons why this has been quite good. One is I do tow heavy trailers, that's useful. Secondly, I'm not going to take a car like this off-roading as such. The sheer space is very practical. I put a lot of stuff in it, including last weekend I picked up a big stone chair, that went straight in the back, no problem. But a lot of my commute is on little roads like this, and what I often find is when there's a vehicle coming the other way, you have to go off the side of the road to let them pass. I'm waiting for a good opportunity, but look, there's a muddy puddle there. I definitely need an SUV off-roady 4x4. Well, not in that case, but there are cases, for example, as I try and find a spot along this road here, I'll be passing along here, a car come the other way, and I've got to get off to the side of the road and go up a dirt mound and let them pass and that sort of stuff. Now, when I did this kind of driving with a Porsche Taycan, that wasn't going to happen. I would stop the car and I would usually then go, okay, I'll back up. And I used to end up backing up hundreds of yards down the road because I'm not going to take a Porsche Taycan off the side of the road into like head verges and that sort of stuff. So that's why an SUV is quite handy, just because you know you're not going to rip the front bumper off when you're trying to get past other people, basically. So having a car like this has actually been really nice to live with, really easy to use and a pleasure to drive. It's got a little bit, the petrol head bit as well. You can go to sport and have the gear noises and stuff, but I normally just enjoy this electric only waft. It's very refined and very quiet. So how far does it go on electric? 40 to 55 miles. I've done 50 miles on electric. You could probably do 60 actually. It does 40 all day long happily. So it has a good real world range, which sees me charge at night on cheap overnight electric, go and drop my daughter to school, drive to work, drive home again, no problem, plug it in that night and it will charge on a cheap electric again. Doesn't mean you're plugging it in, or for me most nights, but that's okay. Where I park on my driveway, there's a plug there and I plug it in the side of the car. And that way my commuting, everything doesn't use any petrol. And therefore I've got very high miles per gallon. The miles per gallon could be almost infinite. It was 300 a couple of days ago because I barely touched the petrol engine at all. And then yesterday I did a longer trip. It was about 130 miles, I think it must have been in the end. And so it used electric to begin with. Then the petrol engine had to take over for the rest of the journey once the battery had run out. And therefore, so even this, like I couldn't do that little junction there with that angle in a low car. Even a Model 3 would have, Tesla Model 3 would have ground out there. I'll go a long way around. But even yesterday, the petrol engine came on, and I still averaged something like 67 miles per gallon. The worst efficiency I've had, which is actually before the cars on my counter recorded it, was 27 miles per gallon, and that was towing 2.25 tons of trailer and another car behind, without a fully charged battery to begin with, and that was over 27 miles per gallon. So your real world miles per gallon is going to vary depending on how many miles you do and how often you plug it in. It could be 30 miles per gallon, or if you never plug it in, or if you could be hundreds of miles per gallon if you just make a habit of plugging it in each night. So what's not good about it? Let's be realistic, what's not good? Well, petrol and electric hybrid, you might call it a master of all, but it's also can be a bit of a jack of none. You know, there are times you resent the fact you're not towing a trailer, you just want it to be an electric, and you've run out of the range, and yeah, it's a shame you're burning petrol. You also then, as a result, have to maintain a petrol car and all its disadvantages. Lots of moving parts, oil, spark plugs, exhausts, gearboxes, clutches, and that kind of stuff, and whatever gubbins goes on in a gearbox here. So it means you have to maintain all of that stuff as well. And what does this car not do very well? Specifically, the cons of hybrid aside, I would like it to be as tall as a Discovery and have 7 seats, because that's even more practical for my use. What does this car not do very well? Do you think of anything against? You know, the cons of hybrid aside, like what does this car not do very well? I guess the phone as a key would be a cool thing rather than, you know, having to put your phone up to the door handle with Apple Pay. Stereo is quite good, isn't it? You know, this is the thing. I want to be realistic about stuff and say what's not good about it. And like I say, other than the fact it does have a petrol engine, does burn stuff sometimes, which you need to do if you're towing, really, because it just is what it is. We don't have a long-range electric tow car that can tow over 2 tons yet, really. The iX can tow 2.5 tons, but again, even with a big battery, you're only going to do 100 miles, and you're going to have to charge up again. What does this car not do that well? I think this is the problem, really. It does a really good job, and this is why it surprised me. You know, I think I was quite willing to not like it, be labelled an SUV driver and all that kind of stuff. I would ultimately prefer this to be fully electric, of course, but if you're going to do heavy towing, then this is good at that. It doesn't, you know, the iX has a number of things that I'm not so keen on, and perhaps we'll do a video of one of those one day. They're quite good in a number of ways, but obviously a bit Marmite, as I think most people know. But this really does do everything really rather well. Even the app gives you quite a lot of data. Of course, you can keep the climate running from the app. It gives you loads of trip information if you want to see all that stuff. Actually, more data than even a Tesla does. So we did find a slightly negative. This is something Gints often raises, actually. This bit here gets muddy, naturally driving it along. And as I get out, you do tend to quite easily catch your trouser on the muddy bit of car. It can't help that, surely. Well, Land Rover Discovery has like this extra bit on the door here which tucks that away, and therefore you don't get the mud on the bit that you would tend to brush against. So that's not so good. So a Discovery has this little extra bit here which keeps the side of the car here clean. Of course, a lot of Discoveries have got a step like this, so you can also just kind of step in and out like this. But actually, if you just do this, which is slide around and out, then you've got your muddy legs again. So yeah, but that's the step, that is. So the other thing, the BMW almost doesn't need soft close, because even when you just do that, the door actually just closes itself without even needing a soft close. It's only like when you go like that, then you use the soft close. But it's even things like that aren't annoying about the X5. Any other car you often do, like I just did there, just go like that, and the door's left open, and I find that just doesn't happen with the X5. So the X5 is about things that just don't annoy me, it's probably the thing. What I do miss about a Discovery is this height and this square load bay. If you're going to put a washing machine in, it's just easier. You've got 7 seats if you need it, that's great. You've got even bigger tailgate drop down here, which is, as I say, good for changing babies. But in a way, because this is bigger, it means you can't get to the back of the boot. So sometimes when I'm unloading the shopping, I even have to go up that and get stuff on the back, which means you can get dirty there. But in terms of the sheer height in here, this is the bit I miss about Discovery. So if you could take this shape, take all that running gear plus a bigger battery, and really only have a range extender combustion engine from when you're towing, that would be just about my perfect car. So I know a lot of people watching us will go, yeah, but it's not a fully electric car. Okay, I get that. I would rather a fully electric car, but you can see that there are some case points where the plug-in hybrid is useful. As a plug-in hybrid goes, it's good because it's got a meaningful battery and it does everything else really nicely. So that's about that. Bit of a weird video, that one, isn't it? So anyway, I hope that's been useful. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you can at least understand why, as a car, this is quite a good car. That's it for me for now. Stay subscribed for some more videos, probably more likely about electric cars, coming soon.